Welcome everyone to Chiro Author Insights. I'm with Dr. Mark Postles, and this is an incredible pleasure to have Mark here. I've spent some significant time in terms of a mastermind group with him. Conversation. He's an incredible deep philosopher, an incredible servant and contributor to the chiropractic profession. I'm going to do an introduction because I know, one, he would refute all of this and say something as humble and beautiful as I may have planted a few seeds and a few seeds may have germinated, and take humbly his impact on the profession. And that's why I want to introduce him to today's talk without, all due respect, Mark, an introduction from you, because I want people to understand the significance and magnitude of what you've done with the chiropractic profession. So a chiropractor for over 45 years, a speaker, author, coach with Quest Coaching, but more than that, many coaches change people's businesses and practitioners' profitabilities and fortunes, but he's a mentor and has changed people's lives, a true legend of chiropractic. He's on the board of the Australian Chiropractic College and the New Zealand Chiropractic College as well. Since 2001, he has invested in so many chiropractors' lives that the world of chiropractic in Australia and even internationally has been changed. I love what he says in terms of his life vision. My goal is to touch the hearts and transform as many people's lives as I can with my vision and hope for humanity. These beautiful words are testimony to the service that Mark has provided the chiropractic profession. So it's excited that I have an opportunity to spend time with you today to talk about the innate model, your book, and the impact that it's had on the health and lives of people within the community and equally the chiropractic profession and extending beyond that. Dr. Mark Postles, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
It's great to be here, Marcus. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And we're also going to bring Chelsea, your co-author, on into this call as well before we get into that model, so that we can just talk about how unifying two authors into a project can make a significant difference. So Chelsea wasn't here right for that beginning call, but we're going to bring her in right now, and then later we'll talk a little bit more about the book. So let's bring Chelsea on. It's great to have you both here. Look, let's just start with the conversation really simply about the innate process, the book and the model. So I'd love to have both of your insight in relation to this unique process of a co-authored book on such a really important and valuable topic. So I'd just love to, let's start with your insights.
Cool. Well, who would you like to go first? Chelsea, do you want to introduce?
You explain the innate model and things, and then I can just tack on the education part of it afterwards.
Okay, cool. All right. So it's been said that there's a book in everybody, and I think that's very true, and probably many books in everybody. And there's a great resistance for most people in writing a book, because it's you got that voice yelling at you, but then you've got the other part saying, well, yeah, but you don't really deserve to do this, and this is imposter syndrome thing that comes up. So there's procrastination that generally happens, and for me it was about 10-15 years, I guess, of that when I was developing this model of brain preferences relative to behaviours, and dredging through the history of mankind in terms of what's been done before, because I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So it was a sort of a very slow research project of really looking at what patterns existed within expression of behaviour that had been identified by people before me, but had not been necessarily correlated with our neurology or on the brain. So that was initially the integrity model, and then became the innate model, and then it got written up into a book in 2011. And that book process for me, the catalyst of it was to have to hire a coach, and not by any means a cheap undertaking, but Mindy Gibbons-Klein was the lady who took me on board, and she has a byline of a company as the book Midwife, which the byline is I'll drag a book out of you kicking and screaming. So resistance is futile, just get in there and do it. So she actually took me through a 12-week process. So it was quite intense, quite hard-hitting, very targeted. And what was within me came out, at least what was in me at the time that was formulated in the right order, came out at that point in time. I mean, it did the rounds in terms of various proofreads that did the rounds with the editor backwards and forwards, and that's no small undertaking either. They get really picky with things, and that wasn't necessarily my style, still isn't. So that was honed, and so then the purpose of writing it really wasn't to make money. It wasn't to have a bestseller. It simply was to get something out of me that was burning away inside and was really useful, really, really, really useful for people and businesses and organisations and so forth. So that, the rest is history. Many thousands of those books have been sold, and in Kindle, and we do. I wasn't into having like 5,000 books in the garage. Not with the bloody ants in Queensland. They've already had one go at a box of books, and they can make a good mess of it. So that was the model was to have it and create space with Amazon, and that's how we have marketed. We just have 100 or 2 books on hand, and the rest of them we drop ship. So straight out of Amazon. So it's a great service. They can be sold individually like that. So that's been the journey with that book. And then obviously other people started reading it and coming to seminars that built from that, and online products are built from that. And then Chelsea turns up. So Chelsea, your story.
Yeah, well, I had been going to seminars and extended intensive workshops and things like that, reading Mark's book for quite a few years, and just getting deeper and deeper into the enjoyment of the journey of the innate model. Really, it started as a personal journey, and then helping with our business. I would do the HR and people and organisational side of my husband's chiropractic practice, and so those innate model techniques were just so helpful. But as we just dug in deeper and deeper, my background is in education, and I said to Mark once when I was at a intensive 2-day workshop after a couple of years, I said, I just can't wait to get back into the classroom because this will revolutionise the way I teach. And Mark said, I want to write another book on that. Do you want to write it with me? And I just almost fell off my chair. I was like, you want to write a book with me? And I think that was the big thing for me with Mark, because he champions people and he's willing to give those risks and so forth, that I just couldn't believe that risk would come towards me. And I think my reason for saying yes, because I was utterly terrified, was after meeting Mark and also a couple of other authors, Kim Morrison, Karen Smith, Cindy O'Meara, I was really quite taken aback that these people weren't superheroes, they weren't superhuman, they were normal people. And I was just like, they've achieved so much. Well, no, Mark. But they've achieved so much and they've done so much. And I had this misconception that, there was this superhuman version of people that did that, and all these other, people, we just fill the gaps. And from meeting them, it was really quite eye-opening to go, gosh, the difference with the reason why they have made such impact is because they chose to say yes, and they chose to continue saying yes. And that really is the difference. And it really spoke to me. And so when Mark said, do you want to write a book with me? I just went, yes, I would. And I think there was 2 drivers for that. One being an extreme drive to want to make change in education and grow our kids positively, which would have been the underlying highest value. But the other one was the opportunity to work with Mark and be coached by Mark. I was like, this would be really beneficial for myself. So it was these two sides of a coin. And then that started a 2-year journey of Mark and I writing a book together. We're across either sides of Australia. I also had, I've got 3 young children, and my youngest was 1-year-old at the time. So I was writing at midnight or in the playroom, or, it was a very different journey. And I was very honoured to have Mark be able to be very tolerant of that up and down process, but also I was coached not only how to write a book, but also how to, I suppose, become an author, because to get to the point of putting your words on paper and being able to stand behind that confidently in despite of what others think, was a big journey for me, and definitely made peace before we published. And now, you know, I think that's an amazing growth to get to the point where it's actually, I do stand by this, and it's okay if people like it or not, because this is my words. And that's been an amazing personal journey. And then obviously the one that we have to make change for people and grow and make the potential of people greater is the other one, which we'll do for the rest of our lives, won't we, Mark?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean the on-flow from that obviously is product in terms of scaling different levels of understanding and behaviours that in the classroom. We're just emerging into that one. You know, Chelsea was told, I think, by a professor, this could be a great PhD project. You know, so there's other areas that it opens up, and it's just the beginning. And I don't think it's really about the book. You know, the book is sort of like a calling card, and for some strange reason, it just gives you that authority that Chelsea's mentioned there. It's just, I don't know, it's sort of weird because you know, we're still the same, but it just, people see it differently. So it does open doors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do workshops now with principals and deputies and people with significantly more amount of experience in education than myself. But I think it's not about being everything. It's about being the best version of you. And then that gives something to people in despite of what other experiences the people around you have. It's like, you don't aim to be the expert on everything. You be the expert on that one thing that you are. And that gives amazing gift to the world. And I think that's what I appreciate about the way that Mark communicates things, and what it's really helped me with driving what I believe in as well.
Yeah, I think that the essence of the innate model is that it's an integrated model. It's an integrated view of existence. And so it's a synthesis of the vitalistic and the mechanistic. And because we are, you know, we're a left brain and right brain, and we have both, and we have all, and there's nothing missing. And so it's about celebrating that uniqueness and that beauty. And therefore it lends itself to many different scenarios and situations. So currently I'm writing a book for children. We're pitching it at 4-year-olds. And along with Nimrod Mueller and Rosemary Keating and Greg Benning, myself, that's a little project we have underway currently. And currently I'm also writing with a ghostwriter. Well, probably a ghostwriter, although she's an editor, but she just asks me questions and then she does the interpretation of the innate model chiropractor. So, you know, there's lots of offshoots once you get that book going. There's lots of different levels that you can write it out and pitch at these various vertical markets. And so Chelsea brings this magnificent viewpoint of education, which was so primed for and such a need for something like a soul, heart-spaced placed viewpoint within the classroom. You know, because education certainly is, I won't say in tatters, but it's in challenging state. Wouldn't you say that, Charles?
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, we don't start with that one. We won't have long enough time, but we have to get the book for that one. I have to go. Thank you so much. Is there anything else before I leave?
Yeah, I just think if I can just get one conclusive statement. Obviously, the book was written and you've had the opportunity to work in terms of using the model within a teaching platform, and therefore within a workshop and seminar platform. It's one thing to have a book and writing a book and then leveraging that and extending into additional opportunities. How do you feel those opportunities have allowed you to express yourself or provide growth opportunities, and what has that meant to you personally and professionally?
Yeah, well, personally, I've definitely grown as a person through this journey. You know, it's funny enough, the thing about writing a book is it actually digs into your soul. And it's a very, it was a very emotional journey. It took me, you know, reading, studying, learning on that. Stop laughing, Mark. You know how many times you had to talk to me while sobbing. But you know, it's so many levels of it. There's the research, there's the understanding, there's the you know, the learned brain side of it. Then there's the heart, the soul. There's the physical time it takes. There's so many parts of that, and you can get to a point. Actually, if you get at least 5 times, I was like, I want to quit this, and I can't do this anymore. But if you allow yourself to keep going through that part, you actually get there in the end. And personally, that journey is something that, you know, is so worth it. But that has then provided opportunities where now we have Innate Ed, which is a business that uses the innate model education. We have online courses that we've created that people can take, as well as our PD and so forth. And I think it's really got me to use my skills of communication and connecting with people in the classroom in a way that's actually going to make change. And that definitely has leveraged a lot. I mean, yeah, I really get quite dumbfounded when I'm the one that principals are talking to for advice when it comes to their staff, when it comes to classroom application and things. And I kind of look around and go like, aren't I just the mum of 3? You know, aren't I just I'm a drama teacher. That's supposed to be like the lowest of the low, you know? And just knowing that when you really do hunker down into what you're really passionate about, you put the effort and time in, and you just continue to, if you dig into the dark place, the hard places, be okay to go there. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I never, a couple of years ago, never would have seen myself where I am now. But I love what I do, and I'm so happy that I'm on the journey. And yeah, it's definitely just the beginning. It's definitely worth it. You jump off a cliff and build your wings on the way down. Hey, Mark.
Yay.
Beautiful. Thanks for dropping in, Nicole. I really appreciate it, Chelsea. I'm grateful for all the work that you've done in creating this and other service you've done, not only to chiropractic by being part of this journey, but to the community as well, and to all the, you know, the students that you've brought all this wonderful insight to. So thank you. And again, thanks for dropping in the call. I appreciate that too.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of it. It's lovely. Okay. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Charles. See ya.
Bye.
Let's just talk a little bit further about the innate model as well. And so, you know, it was great to have Chelsea come in onto that part of the conversation and understanding how it can unify with another writer and how that can change the whole project. Let's talk a little bit more from a chiropractic perspective, though, Mark. I know it's a profound book. It's utilised, you know, over at the New Zealand College of Chiropractic. I'm sure it'll get introduced into the Australian Chiropractic College curriculum as well. I know a lot of chiropractors use it in their practice to help with understanding identity. So how has it changed chiropractic practices, and where is and chiropractors and the student chiropractors understanding of themselves, their identity, and the journey they take? So let's just explore the principle of the book a little bit more before we explore and expand on what that means. Sure.
So the principle of it is that it is an integrated view of existence, and so we would see that the brain as a processing center, and I would say distinct from the mind, which is a whole different discussion. I think, you know, we are in the mind. We're not the mind. We don't have a mind. We're part of a mind. And the brain is that sensory device, and there's a number of different brains. So, you know, we know that there's good science relative to the heart brain. There's good science relative to the gut brain, and there's some indications of other brains within the body as well, but they're all integrated in a form that allows us to see the world. If we look at nature, we see the blueprint of everything. You know, everything that man's ever created is there in nature. You know, from the structure of cities to the structure of societies, and you know, you can liken that to the organized structure of a human body. So as chiropractors, we're just drawn so naturally to that, and yet a lot of our processes and a lot of our systems, a lot of our management systems, like our practice clinical systems tend to be more mechanistically driven. as though we're this machine with a bunch of parts that could be replaced, and parts can be broken and they, they just don't work anymore, sort of thing. And when we start to look at it from a vitalistic viewpoint, we know that every part is necessary and it's all interrelated and interdependent. So looking at it from a flow, I went over 200 personality profiling systems, because obviously personality profiling has been observed for over the years. So from Plato and Aristotle and all the way down. And the majority by far, with only a couple of exceptions, and there's reasons for that, were quadrant systems. So four archetypes, 4 styles. But what had happened was that they were seen as personalities and therefore given labels. And so in a context of interpersonal relationships, if we label someone, we create a bias. We create an area of difference and an area of a specific distinction. In other words, a box for a person to go into. So yeah, it was seen as a bit of a fun game, a party thing, sort of, you're this, you're that, I'm a this, I'm a that, and we put dogs' names to it, or animals, or numbers, or or some form of identification of that. And so to me, it was like, well, no, wait a minute, these guys, these parts of the brain all work together, and there's a certain sequence that seems to happen here that goes from an idea, which classically is right brain's big picture. It's forebrain. It's looking at possibilities. It's looking at into the future, and it takes big ideas in and loves to entertain them and express them. And then that big idea gets shunted down to the left base of part of the brain. It's like, well, okay, now we're going to get this in order. This is a stupid idea in its current form, but let's see if we can organize this. And we break it down into its smallest parts. That's the inductive reasoning part of the brain, references the past, and it's there about survival, So the big idea comes in that is all about possibility, but we want to be safe. So we have to link it to something from the past and make sure that it is safe and that it is manageable, that we can control it. So that's the left part of the brain. So that's what we call quadrant 2. And then we shut it across to the right basal part of the brain, which is the quadrant 3 part, that says, okay, how do I work this, and where's the process for it, and what can I do with this, because it's now oriented towards the future. So it's building this thing based on this big idea, but having had the science infused into it of how we can do this into the future. So that's how we do stuff. That's how we adjust people. That's how we apply our techniques. Now, science sits over in the quadrant 2 part, and the philosophy sits up in the quadrant 1 part. So, so philosophy merges with science, and the science and the philosophy then come through into the art and the expression of that thing, and that we call an adjustment, or working with people, checking and adjusting. So that information then gets thrown up into the quadrant 4 part. That's the left frontal. So that's hooks into the past, but it also looks at the really big picture, and it's very intuitive, and it picks up stuff. I would suggest from the field. I think the prefrontal cortex is like a broadcasting and receiving mechanism into the field, and so we're very closely. If we allow ourselves, that higher mind goes beyond us, right? And we can relate to it, be it the pineal or the third eye or whatever. But there's areas there that have this ability to intuit and then reshift things. So that's where we reinvent ourselves. And the quadrant 4 part is to see the world from a different position. What if we did that? What if we did that? We could change this and that and that and that, and we could make it something new. We could put this over here and that over there. And of course, to the disgust of the quadrant 3 part, which has taken a lifetime to create this beautiful creation, and then the quadrant 4 part pulls it apart, commercializes it, looks at the bottom line, has lack of reverence for what it's taken and all the stories that have gone behind it to create it. It just wants to make it something different and something better. So, and then it kicks back across the quadrant one part that gets really excited about this new potential idea. And so it goes off and it romances it, and it comes up with some new ideas around that. And then that kicks it back to the quadrant two part. And the quadrant two part says, oh my gosh, no, he's been to another seminar. Oh, heck, we've got to deal with this one now, And then it kicks it across the quadrant three part, and the quadrant three part starts to make the thing or adjust in a different way, or, different management protocol, whatever it is. And then it goes back up the four part, it rips it all apart again, kicks it back to one. Then, so it's a perpetual movement through that 8 figure of 8. Now, that's we would see that we're either ascending or descending. We're either evolving or devolving. And so our function in life is just that. We're here to grow. It's our innate expression is here to expand and to grow and to further develop. That's evolving. If we go on the defensive, if we get under the pump, if we devolve, then the whole thing goes in the opposite direction. And we start to shrink, and we start to get rigid, and we start to hang on to our ideas and notions and prejudices and cultures that cause us to shrink. So that's the nature of it. The innate model here is to allow people to evolve. It's to allow people to recognize their process. We refer to it as doing your 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we become, it's verbalization. It's not a noun. It's not a label. It's not a thing. It is a process that is like life. It's the difference between a dead body and live body is that life force, and it's intangible and yet it's very evident. So that's the nature, I think, of this flow. When we become aware of it, we become able to do more with our life, and than maybe we did before, and maybe not. We can just observe ourselves devolving, and that in itself is a great gift as well. So yeah, so it's to bring in this essence of life that is to allow us to be non-judgmental. Simply, this is what I do, and every quadrant has its upsides and downsides. There's many upsides as there are downsides. So the question then becomes, well, what's useful in this given circumstance? So yeah, so I mean does that sort of help to sum it up in a?
I think that's a great summary of the book for those who haven't read it. I know a lot of chiropractors have used it, and again, it's something that people who know you, and particularly with Quest Coaching, have obviously integrated within their practice to help them get more out of themselves, more out of their lives, have deeper self-reflection, understanding, self-awareness, and therefore more profound and powerful choices. And I think if we can tie this, the book, the value of the book, not only for an individual in their own life, but also working from the context of other chiropractors saying, great, I get the book, I understand that. And we're obviously also talking today about the context of other chiropractors learning the principle of being able to take their knowledge, as we've spoken about here, with the innate model, and then explore and extend that in more diverse ways as well. So you've been able to take the wisdom that you've gone through this research and this journey of learning and understanding, and you've put it into a book format, and then you guide practitioners through that process in their practice, and you've been able to provide a teaching model as well. So the book has opened up, and Chelsea, you spoke a little bit more about that earlier, the opportunity of speaking, but it's also opened up coaching opportunities, working with practitioners, teaching opportunities. So share with how the knowledge of this and all the research you've done and putting it into place within the book has led to being able to pivot in different ways and having different opportunities as a business, as a professional outlet. Sure.
So at any point in time when we do our board meetings, be it for our practice, we have 5 or 6 of us there as chiros. We have board meetings with colleges I'm on the board of in New Zealand and ACC, and also in other areas of interest that I have. We look at it on a regular basis in terms of where are we, and the sort of a SWOT analysis would give us interestingly 4 quadrants. But anyway, we would identify areas of possible challenge. So, like for example, when the COVID thing hit, and it was quite sudden and quite unexpected, and it was something that sort of came out of left field. we were in a position of saying, okay, where have we been in terms of our priorities? And we tend to target priorities based on where we're at any point in time in our I'm referring now to our practice, and also to our business in coaching, and where would we get the most bang for our buck right now? So when COVID hit, it wasn't one of let's yell from the rooftops, let's market, let's advertise, let's get out there and expand or attract. Let's nurture. So we were able to just very, very quickly, within a day or so, turn the whole focus of both businesses into a state of nurture. It's like our people need us. Our people are maybe confused, not knowing which way to go. Let's make sure we're up close and personal with them, that we give them some structure and some organisation and guide them in a way that's quite quiet and gentle. So that's that quadrant 2 part. Like, you know, when we have order and structure around us, we feel nurtured, we feel looked after. And it's really important to have those procedures and policies and to just slow it all down, because you know, we don't want to have new input. We don't want to have lots of pressure and lots of noise. And there was enough pressure and noise going on in society that we realised that no, we just got to calm the farm here for our people and work with them at that level. So that, you know, that's a situational thing, and that happens on a regular basis. In a micro, and in this case, a macro magnitude, but there's also a normal growth pattern. So organisations, practices go through phases, chiropractors themselves go through phases where we're attracting in, and then we overload the systems, and so the systems then blow out, and that's where we find our linchpins. And so then we put attention on those systems, and then the systems get all nice and smooth, but then puts pressure on the delivery mechanisms of the technique or the delivery of at the adjusting table. And then that puts, once that's working really well, that overloads that quadrant 4 part. So the reinvention process then has to happen to bring on new ideas, to bring on a different level of scale, to then allow the quadrant 1 to play again. So, you know, that's an evolutionary thing. And you know, we could look at it in terms of years. You know, as an individual, what we find is that we tend to go in 3-year blocks. You know, neurologically speaking, our development. If you look at the development of human beings, there tends to be those 3-year blocks of 4 quadrants that then cycle around after, you know, once we get up to teenagehood, we start to reinvent ourselves at the same level again, and then into adulthood at 24, and then into that sort of, oh my gosh, you know, things are starting to droop and drop by the time we get to late 30s and so forth. So, you know, it becomes a process that we observe in so many different areas. And I think that's the exciting part about it, because it has application no matter what area you want to look at. And this is where we're having people now coming to us and saying, well, you know, would it be possible for us to do something together in terms of from my industry? So that's where it's a principle. There's a concept based on a concept, which is the holistic concept, which is what we operate with as chiropractors. And then there's the principle of this neurologically driven phenomenon of above, down, inside out. And then the details are all the different little areas that could use it for their application. So
I think that's something that's really interesting as well from practitioners who are watching this, and obviously they're interested to learn about your model, and you know, obviously we've got details on this video of where to reach out and find you, but it also emphasises the fact that when you mentioned there that people are coming now to reaching out to you to say, can you give some guidance and direction, the expertise that you've developed in this area, and the fact that you have this published work and also this model that's really quite clearly defined to help people, it allows you to leverage that expertise, gives you opportunity to work with people, to expand your profile and have a great impact in the world. So the book's really, it's not only been your, you know, as you said, something that was important for you to do in terms of your own exploration and journey, but it's also been a beautiful tool for you to be able to continue to expand your service into the world. So would you say it's had a really profound impact on the way that you're able to outreach and make an impact in other people's lives and serve more fully?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, and as I said before, it wasn't written for notoriety. It wasn't written for money. It wasn't written for any other reason other than to get it out there, because I know that it's really, really helpful, really useful. And you know, that's been the ride we've been on. It's been quite magical, really, because there's been so many different meetings and alliances and connections that have come as a result of it. I mean, you know, tens of thousands of people have been involved in it at some level or another. So it's been really, really cool. And I think it's been something, you know, for me just personally, it keeps me on my toes. I mean, it's always a filter, and when you have a vitalistic filter, you see the beauty and the magnificence in everything. You know, even the worst possible things. It's like, wow, this is so cool. And you know, it's a rejuvenation process. I think I find, you know, as we go through the different phases of our life, and we, you know, get into our 70s, like myself, and then we start to see things in a whole different viewpoint again, and we keep evolving, or we don't, you know, and a lot of people don't, and they start to devolve, and at this point, I haven't chosen to do that. So, and possibly it's because I'm aware of the process. So, you know, it's like get that structure, and then you shift the structure a little bit, and the whole function changes. And once again, chiropractic premises. You know, I mean, chiropractic is so profound. It's so far ahead of the game. It's just, you know, it is the cutting edge. I mean, you know, you've got your treatment thing and you've got your preventative thing, but well, you've got chiropractic, and it's transformative. And I think we're sort of being boxed into the wrong area. I mean, we don't deserve to be part of healthcare. You know, healthcare is such a low-level thing, such a low vibration thing. You know, it's a physically driven thing, and even mental health is a physically driven thing, trying to fix things with chemicals and stuff. But you know, if you go into the energetic sciences, which is where Dee started this whole thing, you know, it's founded on tone, and tone is energy, tone is a vibration. And you know, we're in this field of optimization. We're in the field of human potential. We're not in the field of healthcare. And you know, I think we've been doing ourselves a disservice to a large degree by being in healthcare and being associated with that. And it's, you know, maybe the time's coming where we can start to look at ourselves and offer ourselves in a different context. And maybe the innate model certainly is a contribution to that. So.
Absolutely, and I think it has certainly been a contribution to that, and your whole career has been a contribution to that, and I'm grateful for that. One final message really before we close this conversation up, which is, you know, what you said and highlighted the importance of chiropractic, the profession, how profound it is, the value it provides. And for me, chiropractors sharing their messages, you said, you know, this is a message that you wanted to get it out there. It wasn't done for money, although it provides it. It wasn't done for notoriety, although that is a natural byproduct. It was done because you had a message, an important message that you wanted to share, an impact that you wanted to have. And the book leverages that opportunity, extends that possibility. So there are so many chiropractors out there that also have a message within them that may feel uncertain or unsure that they could write a book, or that they can get up on stage and present their story. What would you say to them in terms of, you know, to the message that you have after all that you have been through, the journey that you have, the leadership position you hold within the profession? What's the message now for the uncertain chiropractor who has a story to tell, has a message to share? Where do they go to? What do they do? How do they find that certainty and confidence to go out into the world and serve the profession and the community in the way that only chiropractic can?
Yeah, wow. No, that's that's a huge one to address. But I mean, I'd be flippant to say we'll just do it. But really, I think it's about looking at how blessed you are. You know, that you are unique. There's never ever been anyone else like you. There never ever will be. And you are so fortunate to be in this place at this point in this time. And with what we know, with what you know, with the experience you've had, your journey, your history, your culture is manifesting in you right now. And this is you're the only person who can share it. Your perspective is it. No one else can share your story. And there is just one little takeaway that a person might take from you taking the time and the energy to share your story that causes their story to all of a sudden come alive, to allow them to make cognitions and to allow them to step to a higher level and create something of worth for humanity that they may not have done beforehand. So, I think it's more like it's a responsibility. I mean, that may sound a little heavy, but it's just like, when you start to realize it from that position that you are in this absolutely blessed position of being who you are, then there's a story within you that is wanting to get out. And, it's like within chiropractic, all we're doing is clearing out interferences or initiating the body or the person or this entity, this energy system to clear out its interferences to allow it to ascend. And so you can to facilitate that if you care more about the mission that you're on than the constrictions and the beliefs and the limitations that you have or that you do. And I guess recognizing that you're doing them is a key area to. So I know where that helps, but it's sort of, I see it's quite simple. That is that compassion to serve and being willing to share what you have, what you've learned, your perspective. It's not right or wrong, simply your viewpoint with the world.
That was beautiful. Mark Postle, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight, wisdom, your compassion, your service to chiropractic. You have been a true servant and warrior for chiropractic. I'm grateful for you, for your contribution. Thank you again for your time today.
You're welcome, Marcus. Thank you for all you do too. This is amazing, the outreach that you're creating and the influence that you're having as the reporter. It is truly, truly wonderful. And that's just one little thing on that. I mean, you're having this outreach and this effect and this influence and the impact by asking questions. And for some people, they're great reporters, and you are. And that's you're actually writing many, many books by asking questions, because you're putting in the seeds of greatness into people by asking them to reveal their seeds, so that you're allowing them to germinate. So yeah, it's so cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.